Hey everyone! Welcome to Update X24H, your go-to channel for the latest news, hottest dramas, breaking stories, and all the buzz from the world of entertainment. We're here to keep you updated, entertained, and always in the loop. Hit that subscribe button and join our growing family, because here at Update X24H, we bring you the news that matters, the drama you love, and the stories you can't miss. Thanks for being part of our community. Let's stay connected, stay updated, and keep the good vibes rolling. When a name once associated with kindness, artistry, and grace becomes a whisper of fear and mystery, you know something far greater is at play. The name is Menglong, an actor once loved across Asia, whose tragic story has haunted millions. But now a newly found video, allegedly handed over by his former manager, has surfaced, revealing 5 powerful names that could rewrite everything we thought we knew. What's inside that footage? Why was it hidden for so long? And most importantly, why does it feel like the video was meant to be discovered now? Stay with us, because what you're about to hear is more than a story. It's a mirror reflecting the cost of silence, the shadow behind fame, and the courage it takes to tell the truth. At the heart of this story lies not only the discovery of a hidden video, but the rediscovery of a man who was, for so long, misunderstood. The world remembers Menglong as the gentle actor whose calm smile could soften the hardest of days. Yet within that smile there may have lived a quiet sorrow too heavy for anyone else to recognize. When the footage emerged, showing him bruised but composed, trembling yet dignified, what struck audiences most was not fear but a strange, aching admiration. Here was a man who seemed to have accepted his fate, who faced the camera not as a victim, but as someone determined to leave a trace of truth behind. His silence in those moments was louder than any confession. Every blink, every shallow breath felt deliberate, as if he knew that even if his voice were erased, the truth would still survive within the frame. Across continents, people watching that recording began to see more than a case file or a headline. They saw a reflection of every artist who has ever struggled between integrity and survival, every person who has dared to be honest in a world that rewards convenience. In South Korea, Japan, and France, audiences described the same emotion. A weight in the chest, a sense that they were witnessing the final act of a soul still trying to communicate something essential about humanity. That sense of dignity and distress became the legacy Menglong left behind. Not the fame, not the speculation, but the quiet courage to remain authentic when the world demanded silence. As the story spread, people who had never met him began to build gentle tributes in their own ways. Some painted him in soft watercolors, capturing the tenderness of his eyes rather than the tragedy of his end. Others wrote music inspired by the cadence of his final words, blending sorrow with hope. University students from Canada to Singapore organized screenings and discussions about the moral weight of fame, asking one another whether honesty can still exist in industries ruled by power. What united them all was the recognition that Yu's final moments were not about despair but about meaning. The footage, despite its darkness, became a light that traveled quietly through art, dialogue, and empathy. Perhaps the most profound part of Menglong's story is that it reminds us of something fundamentally human: the desire to be seen for who we truly are. His last appearance, stripped of glamour, revealed the heart of a man who still believed in truth, even when the truth came at a cost. In that frail posture, he gave the world a portrait of resilience, an image of grace under unimaginable pressure. Years from now, people may not remember the details of the investigation or the controversy surrounding it, but they will remember the look in his eyes, the calm before the silence, and the feeling that somewhere in that silence, humanity itself was speaking back. It began, as so many turning points in history do, not with a grand announcement but with a quiet discovery. On the outskirts of Taipei, investigators stumbled upon a small suitcase covered in dust and time. Inside, hidden behind a false lining, they found an encrypted drive. To most people it would have looked like an ordinary piece of forgotten luggage, but what lay within it would reawaken a mystery that had refused to die. The drive contained one single video file, 7 minutes and 40 seconds long. A fragment, incomplete, yet powerful enough to alter the way the world remembered Menglong. When the footage was first played, the room reportedly fell silent. It was not the kind of silence born from shock or fear, but the kind that comes when people instinctively know they are witnessing something that cannot be undone. In the dim light of the recording, Yu sits at a small table. He looks thinner than anyone remembers, his expression unreadable but strangely composed. There is no panic in his eyes, only a sense of weary clarity, as though he has already made peace with whatever truth he is about to speak. For a long moment he says nothing. Then, as a distorted male voice instructs him to recite, he begins to speak. The names he utters are not shouted. They are spoken slowly, deliberately, each syllable carrying the weight of something sacred and irreversible. He does not accuse, he does not explain, he simply reveals. To those who later analyzed the audio, the way he pauses between names suggested that he knew the gravity of what he was doing. It was not the act of a desperate man but of someone who understood that truth, once released, could no longer be contained. When the final name is spoken, the video ends abruptly, leaving behind more questions than answers. Yet those few words, captured in imperfect clarity, would ripple across borders, languages, and institutions. As news of the discovery spread, people everywhere tried to piece together what the file might mean. Investigators began tracing the initials mentioned, connecting them to powerful figures in the entertainment world, people whose influence extended far beyond the screen. Journalists compared financial records, finding trails that crossed between companies, countries, and offshore accounts. But beyond the headlines and speculation, something deeper was happening. People were beginning to sense that this story was no longer just about a man or a case, but about the thin, fragile line that separates truth from silence. For those who knew Menglong, the video was devastating and yet strangely consoling. It showed that even in his final recorded moments, he still held on to his composure, his sense of purpose. To some, it was proof that courage can exist in the quietest of forms, not through defiance but through stillness. The discovery of that small, forgotten drive was more than an act of investigation. It was an act of resurrection. It brought back not only a lost recording but the enduring question you left behind. What is the value of truth in a world so determined to hide it? In the end, the revelation was not just about 5 names. It was about one man's final attempt to ensure that honesty, however faint, would still be heard. What has become most extraordinary about the unfolding of Menglong's story is not the mystery itself, but the way it has awakened people around the world to the quiet, universal search for truth. It is no longer a story confined to headlines or fan forums. It has grown into a collective reflection on what honesty means in an age ruled by manipulation, image, and control. The recovered video, whether authentic or symbolic, seems to have reconnected millions with a part of themselves that longs for sincerity in a world saturated with performance. People are not just watching anymore, they are questioning, creating, and most importantly, feeling. In cities across Asia and beyond, discussions have emerged in cafes, theaters, and classrooms. Scholars of art and ethics dissect the visual language of the footage, wondering whether Yu's calm expression was an act of surrender or defiance. Artists reinterpret his final moments in canvas and film, each medium trying to translate that haunting stillness into something that can be understood. A group of young filmmakers in Seoul recently launched a short documentary project titled Light in the Lens, exploring how a single image can outlive propaganda, and how art can speak when systems fall silent. Meanwhile, in Paris, an independent theater performed the 5 names, turning the event into an allegory of moral courage, a reminder that power without accountability eventually collapses under its own weight. These creative ripples show something profound: that truth, even when fragmented or hidden, continues to move through people like a current. The video did not simply expose a set of names. It sparked a conversation about responsibility, justice, and the human need to believe that goodness still exists. Viewers from America to Indonesia write about their reactions, describing a strange mixture of fear and gratitude. Fear, because it exposes the fragility of truth in a world of power. Gratitude, because it proves that even when truth is suppressed, it finds new voices to carry it forward. The manager who preserved that encrypted drive may never have imagined that his act would ignite an international reflection. Yet, through the fragile threads of technology and empathy, Menglong's image has become something more than evidence. It has become a mirror. People see in him the courage they wish they had. The courage to confront injustice without hatred, to face darkness without losing light. In that sense, his story transcends borders, languages, and industries. It asks us all the same question: what would we risk to protect what is real? Perhaps this is what the world needed to remember: that truth is not a possession of the powerful, but a responsibility of the human spirit. It cannot be silenced forever, because it does not belong to one person. It belongs to everyone willing to listen. The rediscovery of Menglong's video has become a rediscovery of collective conscience, proof that even amid fear and uncertainty, humanity's most persistent instinct is still to seek, to question, and to hope. Maybe this isn't just Menglong's story anymore. Maybe it's ours, a reminder that even when the world seems deaf, one voice can still echo across continents. In the final seconds of the recovered footage, a faint line of text appears before the screen turns black. What happened in that room would later change everything. And perhaps that's exactly what's happening now. The conversation has changed. The silence has broken. The world is finally listening. As viewers, we may never know every truth, but we can honor the message, to be kind, to be curious, and to never stop asking why. Menglong's story, whether fact, art, or mystery, reminds us that fame fades but courage remains. And sometimes the smallest piece of evidence can become the loudest cry for justice. Thank you for watching and for staying with us until the end. If this story touched you or made you reflect, please consider subscribing to Update X24H, where we continue to uncover stories that matter, with respect, truth, and heart. Your support helps us keep exploring the untold, one story at a time. Until next time, take care, stay curious, and remember, truth always finds the light.